Once Kusei is finished with his sandwich, he leans forward over the table, tenting his fingers.
Hali, you wouldn't happen to play an instrument, would you?
No. Why do you ask?
Are you sure? You look like the autistic type. That sounded like autistic, but I meant artistic with an R. Sorry. Didn't mean to presume. I'm in the music club, you see, and you, mister, have 2 weeks to join a club.
Well, like I said, I don't play an instrument.
Of course. Well, is there anywhere else you'd like to see? I can show you to any of the campus services. It'd be my pleasure.
Oh, there's no need to trouble yourself.
Stop it. Like I said, it's my pleasure. And also, you know, my job as class representative.
In that case, show me to the library, bro. Actually, I'd really like to know where the library is.
How bookish type are you? Can't say I'm surprised.
No, it's just a useful resource. Kusei rises from his seat and dusts any stray crumbs off his hands with quick, measured motions.
All right, then. Follow me. It's a bit of a hike.
Kusei wasn't lying. It was a bit of a walk. We even had to travel outside, though we kept dry by staying under the walkways. This place sure is big for a high school, and even more impressively, it has a dedicated, though small, library that isn't open to the public.
That's right. Only students of Sarabatu High are allowed inside Miyazaki Library. Feeling like a VIP yet?
I take a look around what's apparently known as Miyazaki Library. It really does have that atmosphere of exclusivity, like a niche cafe catered toward, like, mocha lovers only or something. That was a piss-poor analogy, but what I'm trying to convey is that this place suits me perfectly. It's quiet, cozy, loaded with books, and there's hardly anyone around. I could spend all my lunch breaks here going forward. And find a book and spend the hour reading. I'm sure the library would allow me to borrow books, but I don't dare take any home with me. There's too much of a risk it could get lost or damaged. Are you, like, careless? I'll just read them here and put them back once lunch break's over. Maybe hide them a little bit so nobody else borrows them. I wonder how late it's open. I sure hope it doesn't close with the school. I could stay over after school, alone with a book, out of the rain. Plus, the less time spent at home, the better.
Hali, you still with us?
Oh! I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I completely forgot Kusei was here.
No problem. Listen, Hali, are you going to be fine on your own? It seems there's some urgent music club business that demands my attention.
Yes, I can find my own way back once lunch period is over.
Excellent. I'll leave you to your literary adventures then. Oh, one more thing. Would you mind telling me your phone number?
Oh, yes, I would mind. I mean, no, as in, no, I don't mind. Don't give him your number. Why? After I'm finished fumbling with my words like a moron, I successfully managed the simple task of relaying my phone number to Kusei for reasons completely unknown.
Thank you very much. Now to see if you gave me a fake number.
I would never... My poor heart. My Metal Gear sounds...
Be yourself. No one can say you're doing it wrong.
Charlie Brown. The words of encouragement, though peculiar in their origin, are nonetheless genuinely appreciated. Thank you, Kusei.
Whatever for?
For showing me the library and feeding me. for showing me to the library, for offering me sweet sentiments over text, for being kind in general, for departing on what I'm pretty sure is a bogus errand because you know I'd like to be alone here.
Oops, gotta head out. See you around, Hali.
Kusei Kule strolls out of the library and begins furiously tapping away on his phone. Maybe there's trouble with the music club after all. Smack them. After spending a bit of time browsing the shelves, I come upon a title I've had in my sights for a while, Beneath a Crimson Moon. It's a new release by a Canadian author named Blake Valentine, which I'm sure is just an absurd pseudonym. Blake is renowned for his refreshingly modern takes on the cosmic horror genre. Well, I say renowned, but none of this stuff his stuff, has really hit the mainstream. Horror is horror, after all. Hey man, people love horror. If H.P. Lovecraft's work drew upon common fears and anxieties of his time, then Blake's stories touch those nerves that keep the modern man up at night. For example, his second release, Black Ice, followed two different perspectives: Rose O'Connell, a detective and single mother with an unstable teenage son, and Jameson Cortez, a low-level enforcer for a Mexican drug cartel called the Carnival Oscuro. I guess it'll be Carnival. At first, it plays out like a detective story, albeit one where the criminal's perspective is given just as much attention and depth as the lawman's. But things take a turn for the weird when it's revealed that the drug that the Carnival Oscuro is pushing, known as Tlalocon, it may actually be granting prophetic visions rather than mere delusions. Detective O'Connell ingests the drug to see these visions for herself, and it works. Now able to see 5 steps ahead of her adversaries, Rose O'Connell begins flawlessly thwarting the machinations of the Carnival Oscuro, all while spiraling down into a soul-crushing cycle of addiction and dependence on the Tlalocon drug. Meanwhile, Jameson Cortez, or would it be Hamison? Whatever. I missed the words because the text decided to just keep going. After witnessing an incredibly unnecessarily gruesome execution of an enemy cartel leader, begins wondering as to... I should stop thinking about the book I already read and get started on the new one. Because of the library's small size, there's only one seating area consisting of 2 tables pushed close together with chairs surrounding, which presents a problem for me because there's already someone here occupying a seat at the table. Yuri! There she is. The girl is seated at one corner of the table. Given her height and apparent maturity, I guess she's a 3rd year, but then again, Kusei has taught me to dispose of assumptions. Her long, jet black hair reaches down beyond her torso, and when it catches the light, it could almost be mistaken for a shade of luminescent lavender. Whatever it is she's reading has her completely spellbound. I almost want to know what it is, but not so much that I'd be driven to actually bother her about it. I approach the opposite corner of the table, and after dusting off the surface, drag the chair out as quietly as possible. I open Beneath a Crimson Moon to Chapter 1 after having read the foreword and acknowledgments. In the year of our Lord 1900, physicist Max Planck represented his quantum theory to the German Physical Society. Good God. Planck had initially set out to discover the reason that radiation from a glowing body changes in color from red to orange and finally to blue as its temperature rises. I stared out the window of room 304 of the Physical Science Building at Toronto University. I watched the snow falling, drifting closer and farther, disappearing and reappearing as it danced in the fog. Infinite flakes of infinite complexity, beginning as vapor and ending as vapor. The 2 major interpretations of quantum theory's implications for the nature of reality are the Copenhagen interpretation and the many worlds theory. Niels Bohr proposed the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum theory, which asserts that a particle is whatever it is measured to be, for example, a wave or a particle, but that it cannot be assumed to have specific properties or even to exist until it is measured. In short, Bohr was saying that objective reality does not exist. Yes, it does. This translates to a principle called superpositions that claims that while we do not know what the state of any object is, it is actually in all possible states simultaneously, so long as we don't look to check. This Bohr person would tell me that each of these snowflakes are not so complex as every other scientist would say, then. Each and every one drifts through the air as complex only as my eyes can perceive them. That's ridiculous, right? To illustrate this theory, we can use the famous and somewhat cruel analogy of Schrodinger's cat. First, we have a living cat and place it in a thick lead box. At this stage, there is no question that the cat is alive. We then throw in a vial of cyanide and seal the box. We do not know if the cat is alive, or if the cyanide capsule has broken and the cat has died. Since we do not know, the cat is both dead and alive according to quantum law, in a superposition of states. No, you just don't know. It is only when we break open the box and see what condition the cat is that the superposition is lost, and the cat must be either alive or dead. No, it was always either alive or dead. In short, reality is a construct of human perception. Pretty existential, isn't it? No, it's not. I recall a saying or idea from somewhere asserting that technology sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. Every day, it feels like we're treading closer to that line. After all, we've already circled right back around to the Tree of Life. The second interpretation of quantum theory is the many worlds theory. It holds that as soon as a potential exists for any object to be in any state, the universe of that object transmutes into a series of parallel universes equal to the number of possible states in which the object can exist, with each universe containing a unique single possible state of that object. Furthermore, there is a mechanism for interaction between these universes that somehow permits all states to be accessible in some way and for all possible states to be affected in some manner. Yes, you heard that right. Avowed physicists such as Stephen Hawking and Richard Feynman have expressed that it's possible to reach into and affect alternate timelines if only we had the knowledge and resources to do so. My name is Hana Misaki. Simply one among infinite others, and my story. My story is real. It's real. I know it is. It has to be. Everything I've experienced and felt, it's real. Objectively so. Although scientists throughout the past century have balked at the implications of quantum theory, Planck and Einstein among them, the theory's principles have repeatedly been supported by experimentation, even when the scientists were trying to disprove them. So what exactly does that mean for us humans? Well, I'm afraid that's something for the priests and philosophers to chew on. I'm just here to show you how it all works, folks. Now, why don't we learn some equations? The slight discomfort in the air dissipates as the class breaks out into lightly amused chuckles. They're all so quick to laugh it all off. Why can't I? Beneath the crimson moon. Wow! Now there's a hell of an intro. Although I can't say I'm well versed on the subject of quantum mechanics, I'm aware it can make splendid fodder for cosmic horror. The idea that either reality doesn't exist until, I guess that's an actual typo, human beings are observing and cataloging it, or everything exists in all possible permutations everywhere and everywhen all at once, I don't think either of those things are true. That is assuming that's what this story is gonna be about, of course, but I can't imagine Blake would have included that lecture at the beginning unless it was gonna be relevant to the story proper. Our prospective character seems like quite the deep thinker as well, unlike the rest of the class, just the kind of protagonist I like. As I continue reading onward, we find out more about them. Hana Misaki is our intrepid heroine, a PhD student from Japan who's currently studying in Canada. Her parents are also totally loaded. Her dad is the CEO of Misaki Entertainment, an arcade gambling conglomerate with global ambitions. Apparently they've just recently expanded into South Korea and North America, which is why Hana's studying in Canada in the first place. As heiress to Misaki Entertainment, it'll be her responsibility to break into this as of yet untapped market. Hana, of course, has all the usual baggage that comes with having such a responsibility forced onto her. She struggles with lack of control and her own worth as a human being. Okay, so why are we just reading this book? I stared out the window of the car, watching the Toronto skyline scroll by sluggishly in the foggy, snow-sprinkled distance. The driver prattled on endlessly about who knows what. I certainly didn't. I didn't even speak French, much less in this strange Quebec dialect. So I just smiled and nodded, catching snippets of legible speech here and there in order to respond appropriately and placate the driver, living on autopilot as always. Barely the afternoon and already I felt exhausted, and having to follow this thoroughly one-sided conversation definitely does not help matters. I thanked my lucky stars that money wasn't a concern, at least. My family back in Japan sends me enough money every month to buy out a few of these buildings. That's probably an exaggeration, but the point is made. The point being, this morning would have been ever so much more exhausting if I had to stress over the ridiculous rates of these rideshare apps. But it's fine. It's all fine. Just 20 minutes left on the ETA, and I'll be back on campus and back in my dorm. Not that my roommate is exactly a peach to deal with either, but at least she respects the importance of sleep. Hell, she'll probably still be fast asleep herself by the time I arrive. She's been pulling all-nighters for what feels like the past week now. But, being a PhD student myself, I feel not the slightest inkling of pity. That roommate of mine just needs to manage her workload better, just like I do. The fog had only grown thicker by the time my driver and I arrived at the parking lot of the Toronto University Library. Mind, I wasn't here to borrow any books or anything of the sort. I was just here for the double-shot espresso cup offered at the built-in cafe. Ding, ding, ding. Please remember to report any and all persons or objects that appear to be out of place. If it stinks, trust your instincts. Ding, dang, ding. They have those ridiculous PA systems. Oh, it's probably like ding, 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 ding. They have those ridiculous PA systems installed in every one of the buildings here on campus, plus a few outside for good measure. Like the campus is all one big airport or train station. Is it truly that dangerous around here? I haven't ever seen anything to suggest this anyway. My family back home, of course, would never stop going on about how violent and dangerous it is in the West, about all the serial killings, kidnappings, and mass shootings that occur on a daily basis. You know, it's kind of spread out over like a huge amount of area, so it's really not that dangerous depending on where you go. But everyone here, at least at the university, has seemed perfectly nice and welcoming. If a little jumpy and nosy, seems xenophobia is something that crosses national borders, ironically enough. Bing, bing, bing. There it goes again. Please do not leave any belongings unattended. Toronto University will not be held liable for any lost or stolen possessions. I don't feel like singing it again. Ding, ding, ding. That time, it came from just outside my dorm building. Gravely Hall, it's called, a place filled with urban spooks and ghost stories simply due to the last name of the ancient carcass that commissioned its construction. So that's how I explained the cold, tight feeling in my chest as I ascended up the elevator to the 4th floor, my screaming sixth sense telling me to stop, turn around, leave, and the scent of iron in the air as I twisted the knob on the door to my dorm room. "Lillian?" I called out as I stepped gingerly inside. The lights were off. I repeated, "Lillian?" Yeah, that's the sound. Wow. That time went by so quickly. Did it, though? Did it? That girl is already gone. I need to remember to leave earlier, too. I only have 10 minutes to get to my next class. I can still make it if I jog. Leaving beneath a crimson moon on the table, I sling my backpack over my shoulders and hustle towards the exit doors. Wow, man. Librarian's gonna hate you. First among my evening classes is science. As for what kind of science, I think at this point we're learning chemistry. I take my assigned seat before I set down my backpack and zip it open. I pull out the chemistry textbook, quite the weighty motherfucker, and carefully set it down on my desk. Peering about the classroom, I realize I'm actually starting to recognize some of the faces already. Names, on the other hand, might take some more time. Actually, Kusei's seat is somewhere behind me, right? I crane my neck around, and sure enough, there he is, at the window seat, doing what I wish I could do. Gazing at the gray skies in a moody melancholy. God, you're such an emo. Then he notices me staring and greets me with a serene smile and a wave. I awkwardly wave back. A bespectacled woman with black hair and a white jacket enters the classroom with an armful of books, but then she looks in my direction and stops in her tracks. She stares in my direction for the longest few seconds I've ever lived until a befuddled frown forms on her face.
What is that thing in Pt.2?
The class breaks out into scattered giggles and chuckles at both her confusion and the bluntness of her question. I, on the other hand, already feel the redness forming on my face. After the laughter dies down, I clench my fists and attempt to speak coherently. My name is Hali. I am a new transfer here at Sarabatu High. I look forward to learning from you.
Oh, should have said that earlier.
The class once again has a collective fit of giggling. I place my hands on my chest and try to steady my breathing, with mixed success. God, you have just like massive anxiety or something? Even now I notice some of my classmates stealing glances in my direction. How am I supposed to calm myself like this? The teacher drops her stack of books on the podium with a booming thud, instantly commanding the attention of the entire class. I exhale steadily as my heart rate slows down. Thank you, strange chemistry teacher.
Since we have a new arrival here, I might as well introduce myself again. My name is Saki. I teach chemistry here at Sarabatu High. God only knows why. I'm a microbiologist, not a chemist.
Hey, look, we don't need your life story, lady. Can I read these?
God only knows why. I'm a microbiologist, not a chemist. I study algae. Used to study algae anyway. Apparently one lousy oil spill is enough to undo more than a decade of scientific contribution. This school's board of directors is still going. I'm not done yet.
Look, just finish your diatribe, and I'll read it when you're done, okay? You just keep on ranting and raving. Guess she couldn't be a scientist if she wasn't at least a little bit mad, right? Is she mad like crazy, or is she mad just angry? Because it could be both already. Alright.
This school's board of directors could be more compared to a colony of algae. Their mental processes are about as complicated. Did you know that the board of directors approved a project to construct giant domes surrounding the school in order to keep the rain out? Architecture and engineering are not my discipline. Again, I study algae. But I would estimate this venture to be far beyond the means of the school, especially under its current management. That being said, I would not put it past the board of directors to place me in charge of the engineering class next. It makes about as much sense.
Well, you know, with that lovely rant, I think we're going to call it there for this one. I only needed a couple episodes to cover me for now, so that is going to do it for the moment. I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you next time with more Downpour, the heavy rain of Doki Doki. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.